I've been thinking about things in our time off, and I'm just trying to think, like, it should be more about the conversation and less about looking shit up, so I put the looking shit up off the side.
The licking shit up.
Less licking shit up and more...
Did I say licking?
You started to, you corrected
I'm on
yourself.
my second drink.
On this episode of the MacGuffin Guild, it's truth time in Mindhorn. This 2016 comedy thriller stars Julian Barratt, Simon Farnaby, Essie Davis, Steve Coogan, Richard McCabe, Andrea Riseborough, Russel Tovey, and Simon Callow. Directed by Sean Foley. We're going to talk about Julian Barratt, the sounds of Pat eating a meat pie, the Mighty Boosh, the Isle of Man, and team dynamics in comedy and music. We'll dig into Justin's middle name, the works of Essie Davis, our own penis graffiti experiences, nuanced humor, and burning britches. We'll also get into Drinkin with JJ, The Office, Simon Callow, Mike's managerial history, Pat and Justin's band experiences, whether this film is too highbrow for audiences, and the guys will deeply explore how time changes all. I'm Pat Dougherty, and as always, I'll be joined by my fellow MacGuffins, Justin Jones and Mike Antonio. Our theme song was written and performed by Jordan Vincent. Tough on crime, easy on the eye. Mindhorn.
I raised you better than this.
And welcome to another episode of the MacGuffin Guild. My name is Pat Dougherty, and as you know, a MacGuffin is a plot device used to drive along a story, and we here on the Guild like to use the film that we selected as a MacGuffin to drive along our conversations. As always, I am here with my fellow MacGuffins. I have with me Justin Jones. Justin, what's your middle name? I wanted so desperately to say your middle initial, and I was like...
Is it Justin Marie Jones?
It
Justin
is.
Marie Jones.
That's what I tell people.
That's a very common middle name, so...
Yeah. I was named after the microwavable hot chicken pot pies. Parents were huge fans of the Marie Callender microwavable dinner.
I am also a huge fan. They're delicious.
They're the best. I haven't had one in
they
ages.
are the best.
But they are the best out of all microwave meals you could have.
I don't know that I've ever had one.
Oh, dude, do yourself a favor.
A MacGuffin exclusive. We'll do one for next week.
Yeah.
Everybody can just listen to me eating a meat pie.
Yeah. That'll be a mini. Just you slapping your lips.
So
man.
what's your middle name?
Murray.
We heard it. Marie.
We just answered that. Now it's Michael. But I do people when I like usually when I have to get my name, I'm like Justin M as in Marie. I'll say something or M. Or I'll usually say M as in middle name.
Oh, that's great.
M as in middle name.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, Justin Marie Jones, I'm glad you're here. Oh, what are you drinking today, Justin?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
Because that wasn't a pre-setup.
I was looking for. I stopped on the way home because I was looking for Manx gin. Because that's something I guess they drink on the Isle of Man. It's, but they didn't have it at the little tiny liquor store I went to, believe it or not. So I ended up just getting a bottle of Blue Coat, and
Nice.
I'm just drinking gin and tonics basically.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had a gin and tonic in my entire life.
yeah, they're pretty awful. So,
That's the one that tastes like Christmas tree.
yeah.
Right.
Christmas tree what? Christmas tree tinsel?
Yeah.
No, Christmas tree water.
Yeah.
Oh, Christmas tree water.
It's all like piney tasting, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the Blue Coat's real smooth, though. It's a little too smooth. This is like my second one. And we just started.
We'll keep that in mind.
This is going to be a 30-minute episode. Yeah. Before I pass out and piss myself.
All right, so I'm glad you're here, Justin. Glad it's going well. And also with us and back from his homeland of Tatooine, Mr. Mike Antonio. Mike, how are you?
Yo. Good. It was a very fruitful trip. I was able to harvest a lot of moisture.
'Tis the season.
But other than that, it was pretty good.
Well,
Very
I'm
good.
glad.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Yeah.
How's your Uncle Ben and Aunt Peru or what were their names?
Not good.
Extra crispy.
Man, I'm telling you what, I don't mean to be inappropriate, but Aunt Peru is hot. She's smoking.
God.
What the fuck? It's gonna be one of those episodes, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, so today's film is Mindhorn. Is there a problem?
Nice segue.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything. I don't know how to connect burning Baru bodies. Burning. No, what's their last name? Owen and Baru. What's their last name? I can't.
Or Owen, yeah, Uncle Ben is Spider-Man's uncle. Owen, Lars, and Baru Whiteson had little screen time in Star Wars film.
White Sun?
Whiteson, yeah.
Whiteson.
That's a cool name.
Huh.
That's going to be my band name. Fuck, yeah, here we go.
Burning Whitesons.
Burning Whiteson. Wow, that's perfect.
But I didn't know how to segue from their burning bodies to Mindhorn. I just couldn't think of anything on the fly.
Yeah,
so.
there's really no way.
There really is no smooth transition there.
So my segue is no segue in this case.
We're a Class C podcast. That's some like B or A level, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Like making that transition.
Yeah. We're not
that's
on that
tough,
level.
That's a tough transition right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Kind of painted ourselves in a corner there.
But head on over to our Discord and let us know how you would have segued from burning Whiteson bodies to Mindhorn.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there. So Mindhorn, this film, hour and 29 minutes, came out in 2016. And now for a spoiler-ravaged synopsis. A has-been actor best known for playing the title character in the 1980s detective series Mindhorn must work with the police when a serial killer says he will only speak with Detective Mindhorn, whom he believes to be a real person, starring Julian Barratt as Richard Thorncroft, and directed by Sean Foley.
The moon was hot, the time was right, and you were looking so good. Our body heat was rising, I thought you understood. We had some fun together, but I never promised you forever. It's not my style. No, no, no. You can't handcuff the wind, and if you try, you're gonna fail. It's like trying to put thunder in jail. You can't handcuff the wind. I feel the pull of the open road. I'm heading out into the night. Gotta loosen
Now,
up
was
your
this
good girl.
This wasn't a Netflix exclusive?
I
Or
originally
was it?
thought it was, but it wasn't because it had a theatrical release.
Oh, it did.
Oh, it
Yeah.
did.
Okay, so we're going to go to Rotten Tomatoes. I just want to put it out there. So, Justin, this was your selection, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I really want to dig into your mind,
Horn.
your history. God damn it. Oh, my God. Okay.
Sometimes it just be like that. That's going to be this episode.
I wonder what the ratio to how many we gain versus how many we lose on this one's going to be. Hopefully we net positive on this.
I don't know, man.
God.
Anyway, we'll get back to you, Justin.
For those of you we lose, you will be missed. For
You will.
For those who were gaining, buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah. All right, so would you guys... So, Justin, I'm going to have you guess first, unless you've already seen, because you have a tendency to check these things out.
Oh, I didn't for this one, no.
All right,
Nice.
so Rotten Tomatoes, on the tomato meter, where do you think this one falls?
Critic-wise or...
Critic, yep.
I think this was a little too highbrow for critics, so I'm going to go probably 66%.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just thinking about the Mindhorn thing. Sorry. All right, Mike, what do you think?
I'm going to go slightly higher. I'm going to go 71.
71. It is 92%.
God damn!
Certified fresh.
Wow.
Wow.
I think it deserves it personally. Not to jump too far ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to jump too far ahead yet either.
Thank you,
that.
Mike.
Well, no, I was gonna kind of.
I don't want to do the thing he said he didn't want to do either.
Well, I almost did, and then I was like, nope. So Justin actually saved me on that one.
No, you're still hanging yourself out to dry there, brother.
Well, that's what I always do. I'm a pro.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, audience score. What do you guys think, Justin?
70.
Mike?
I want to stick with 71.
59, which is surprising to see such a swing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Justin, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It might be too highbrow for audiences.
I think so. It's very smart humor, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's dig into some. We'll dig into a range of reviews here. We'll start with some negatives, being as the critic reviews are so high. I have less of those to work with, so let's dig into some of those, and then we'll get to the positives. So Charlotte O'Sullivan from London Evening Standard says, Barratt's delightfulness can't disguise the mediocrity of Mindhorn. I didn't take this film as mediocre.
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. I do think she gave props to Julian Barratt, so that was cool.
Yeah. I
Yes.
think her review was pretty mediocre, though, overall.
Yeah, so Julian Barratt obviously plays the character of Richard Thorncroft, who is also Mindhorn. What?
I just love his name.
Oh.
I don't know. It's just... And
Richard Crowthorne.
We'll get into how my feelings on this movie.
Okay.
So you probably tell where I'm headed.
So Kevin Marr from Times UK says a delicious central premise and a thoughtfully crafted protagonist are ultimately betrayed in this scattershot comedy from the Mighty Boosh stable that's all promise and dwindling rewards.
Nah.
Well, like we
give that
said,
a
there's very few negatives here, so you're always going to have some negatives.
Alan Hunter from Daily Express UK says Mindhorn is at best an acquired taste.
I mean, British comedy in general is an acquired taste, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe from that perspective, but when we first watched it, we laughed our asses off. It was like a surprise like hit for us. Like, we loved it right off the bat.
And then we got Luke Chanel from Hey You Guys says a frustratingly slapdash and derivative affair.
Those are words I don't understand, so your review means nothing to me.
A frustratingly slapdash and derivative affair. What does slapdash mean, Mike?
Slapdash, if I'm not mistaken, means kind of like hastily thrown together, maybe?
That makes sense.
I could be wrong.
Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for the negatives. So let's get into some positives.
Yeah, done too hurriedly and carelessly. Rushed. Anyway, continue.
All right, Katie Hogan from Vulture Hound says the film is faultless and it's great to see such a brilliantly assembled cast. Comedy is alive and well in the UK.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Agreed.
We have Hugh Saunders from Cultured Vultures says Mindhorn starts off very obviously deconstructed, but from there the film and Thorncroft himself manage through struggle and toil to reconstruct the Mindhorn identity. Man, he's really getting into this.
Oh yeah, he's broken this down to a level I was not expecting, but I appreciate it. Was the last one Vulture something too? Is there a lot of Vulture?
Cultured Vultures?
Oh yeah, Vulture Hound and then Cultured Vultures. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I smell conspiracy.
I think you just smelled gin.
Oh, yeah, that's what gin smells like.
Oh, shit.
Okay, Michael Bonner from Uncut Magazine. Mindhorn is a familiar comic creation in the tradition of Alan Partridge or Stephen Toast. Pompous, overbearing, lacking self-awareness, but the film's strength lies in less obvious laughs.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Paul Whittington from Irish Independent says it's very silly and very funny, and Steve Coogan, Kenneth Branagh, and Simon Callow give their all in hammy cameos.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this review. Andrea Beach from Common Sense Media. Can't be lowbrow comedy, has frequent cursing, drugs.
That's a review?
I love those reviews that just give kind of like general facts.
Yeah.
What drugs? Oh yeah, there's drugs.
There is drugs.
What cursing though?
There's F-bombs and stuff in it.
I mean, there's some, but I don't think any
It's
more
not-
than.
It's
Yeah.
not like an extreme amount for sure, especially for British.
Yeah.
All right, we got David Wharton from the Daily Dot says Mindhorn is a solid, silly romp that offers steady laughs and plenty of cringe-inducing, awkward moments in the style of The Office.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's a little bit.
okay. I want to wait to reveal something that is the honest-to-God truth that altered the way I typically approach our podcast because of this film. It was altered. So I want to get to that. I just want to tease that out there, let that simmer for a minute. But Justin, I want to throw it to you because you're the one that brought this to the show, and I want to kind of understand your history with it, how you came upon it, and how it ended up here on the MacGuffin Guild.
So this one is slightly tied to the legendary Chris Wilson again,
Ah.
Oh, wow.
but not in the same way you might think. It's in the Wilson verse, but it's not directly attached to Chris Wilson. So
Is it canon?
it's canon.
Okay.
Head canon, but canon nonetheless. We were flipping through Netflix one night, Sarah and I, trying to find something to watch, and we just saw this Mindhorn. The name was weird. We're like, what's this? And we saw Julian Barratt was in it. I'm like, oh, he's pretty funny, because we know him from the Mighty Boosh. Which we know the Mighty Boosh through Chris Wilson's sister.
Okay.
So, because I remember years ago, she was talking about old Greg. If you guys are you guys familiar with Mighty Boosh or any of that?
Not at all. No.
No.
Oh, okay. So you don't know anything about drinking
No.
Baileys from a shoe, or Curly
Nope.
Ferguson, or
Nope.
or Mangina, or the Funk.
I know a lot about a mangina, but
Okay.
that's for different reasons.
Hearing you say Curly Ferguson, that rings a bell. I may have looked that clip up before.
Not for me.
It may have been you, Justin, that told me about that before in passing. But other than that, no, I am not familiar with any of that work.
Okay. So anyway, she was telling us about old Greg, and there was this clip, and she showed it to us, and I was like, that is the most absurd, weirdest thing I'd ever seen. And I was like, I don't get it. But then, like, a few days later, I kept thinking about this old Greg clip, and I started watching it again, and then I started laughing. And, like, the more I watched it, the funnier it got. Like, it was not, like, in your face. Like, it, like, seemed just dumb at first. And then, like, the more I watched it, it was funnier and funnier and funnier.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because Sarah and I were talking about, she had the same experience. I think I brought it to her, old Greg, and she was like, what? But then a couple days later, she started thinking about it, and then, you know, went back and watched it, and it was, like, really funny.
So I
And
would
then-
say the humor is insidious.
It is pretty
It
insidious.
Seeps its way in.
Yeah. So we kind of got a little interested in the Mighty Boosh, and then, you know, in turn Julian Barratt, and so anyway, when we saw this on Netflix, and we were like, oh, we'll just watch this, and we're like, it'll probably be pretty decent. The trailer looked pretty good, and I think we probably sat there and laughed the entire time. We're like, oh my god, this is like way funnier than we thought it would be. And plus the subject matter where he draws this inspiration from is stuff that we grew up watching. I mean, not Bergerac. I'm not familiar with that, which I think was a huge influence. But like even stuff like late '80s like detective.
Kind of like Sledgehammer that we talked about. Kind of
Yeah,
like
even like
we did
Sledgehammer.
bring that up before. Yeah.
$6 Million Man was another inspiration.
That was what I was thinking
Yeah.
of.
huge,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I think $6 Million Man and Bergerac were like the two big influences he had, or him and Simon Farnaby, who plays Clive, who's a stunt double who he co-wrote this with, and who I think it was actually Simon's vision. I think he conceptualized
it.
the character.
For the people listening, and for me as well, I don't know how much Pat knows. Explain
much.
to us about the Mighty Boosh, not Bush, Mighty Boosh.
Yeah, please tell me about the Mighty Bush.
Yeah, I'm totally unaware.
And what's under the bush?
Well, let me tell you, boys, I've seen it.
No, because I know nothing. So what is the Mighty Boosh?
The Mighty Boosh is It was like a comedy show, a British comedy show. It was oh my god, I'm forgetting the guy's name. It was Julian Barratt and Noel.
Is it like sketch comedy, or is it like a sitcom where it's the same characters every time and just a continuation of the story? Or
well, it's interesting because I never got super into the Mighty Boosh. I just seen episodes here and there. I never actually watched it. I just saw clips, but apparently, so the Mighty Boosh is kind of like it's Noel Fielding is the other one.
Okay.
But it's weird because the first season I believe there are zookeepers. And in the second season, they just live in a flat with these people. And then I think the third season is just kind of random or something like that. So it was just kind of... It's not sketch comedy in the sense that it's like...
It's not like Monty Python where it's like... Or Saturday Night Live where it's sketches.
It may have become that, but I think the first season was just... Because that's what we're watching, the first season.
Okay.
Was mostly just their antics in the zoo, which were pretty funny. And then, but later pieces I've seen, I think it was a little more sketch comedy-esque.
Gets a little more abstract and...
Yeah, but I'm actually I've only scraped the surface of the Mighty Boosh. I can't really talk too much on it. So, but the fact that you guys haven't seen any of it makes me the resident expert. So
yeah, I know. I literally know nothing.
Yeah, but it's funny. I like it's just weird.
And like what era was this around?
I think it started in 2004 to like 2007 or something. There was only here it is, 2004 to 2007. Yeah.
Okay.
But like the other guy, Noel Redding, is more like he's very like.
Wasn't it Fielding?
Yeah, it was, but I changed it. He'll thank me later.
You didn't like Fielding.
No. People are against it. There's a whole thing online about a petition. But
Redding? Why Redding?
Why not? But yeah, he's just kind of like a rocker dude. You know what I mean? So anyway, check it out. I'll tell you what. Why don't the people listening, do you check it out and you put on our social media what you think about it? Because apparently none of us know what the fuck we're talking about.
Explain to us what the fuck it is.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about Noel Redding.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
So, Mike, I feel like I already know the answer to this, but you have no history with this film, I'm guessing.
I have a slight history with it. When it first came out on Netflix, I actually started watching this one night, and I was enjoying it, but I was like half asleep because I like put it on late at night. It was one of those nights where I was just kind of scrolling through Netflix, and I was like, "What is this? Looks like it's supposed to be funny." I'd never heard of it. So I did put it on, but I only got like maybe 20 minutes, half hour in, and I fell asleep. And then I never finished it, and I never kind of forgot about it until Justin brought it up, and I was like, Mindhorn, didn't I see that? But then once I figured out what movie it was, I was like, oh yeah, I never finished that. So Justin, thank you, because if you hadn't picked this, I probably never would have finished this movie and seen the whole thing.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. I thought about you when we picked it too, because Sarah helped me. But this was, to be fair, this is kind of more Sarah's pick, because when I was trying to figure out picks, she's like, "You have to pick Mindhorn." And then like when this block came up, I was like, "This is probably the time to do it." Yeah. So
it's Mindhorn.
Dude,
time.
I laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
It's
funny.
I think I mentioned to you, Pat, that I ended up watching it twice. Because I was watching it today when I got home from work, and I watched most of it, and then my wife came home, and she saw like the last like half hour, and then I started it over from the beginning so she could see like the first hour of it. Yeah, so I almost watched the whole thing twice because I liked it that much.
Cool.
Yeah. I think the only reason Sarah picked it too, I don't think she gives a shit what we discuss about it. I think it was just an excuse for us to watch it again, because she's been wanting to watch it again.
That's great.
Yeah.
My history with this one is there is no history. I knew nothing about it, and I didn't even know what it was when you mentioned it. In fact, in Mindhorn, it sounded like, because again, Justin, knowing your tendencies, I thought it was going to be like some 70s, like kind of art house kind of piece, which would have been great. But so when I saw it was so recent, like When did it come out?
2016?
17, I think.
16.
16, 17?
16, okay.
Yeah, 2016. I was like, oh, damn. Like, I did not expect that. I thought it was going to be like a 70s thing.
Well, I've been trying to step outside my comfort zone a little bit. So my next two picks for our next block of 7 or 6 are both a little outside my comfort zone.
Nice.
So.
Oh, cool.
That 2 movies I've really enjoyed outside my comfort zone.
Okay. That's awesome.
So this one, though, I could tell right away that I was going to have to pay attention. And I've said this before. When I watch British humor, I almost certainly have to put subtitles on because I don't want to miss anything because it's so fast moving. Like, and you have to keep up.
It's just zinger.
And just the subtle moments that this film offered and how quick they just kind of like cruised by. And the looks, like the humor done with just looks. I loved that. I loved that you could get a legitimate laugh out of a look on a character's face. And it was exceptionally well done in this film.
I totally agree with that.
But
yeah, I mentioned earlier, I don't even know if it was so early. I don't know if it was the ones we actually released, but I remember we were talking about acting with your face.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like that's like stuff I really like. Yeah.
Yeah, this film did that exceptionally well. So what I hinted at earlier, what I teased earlier, was that this film knocked me off of my typical prep for the podcast. And the reason for that is typically I have about 2 pages of notes, give or take, sometimes 3, depending on the film. I don't even have a half a page of notes for this film.
Oh, fuck. I didn't take any.
Well, the reason though, is because I could not take my eyes away from the screen for fear of missing something. Because you couldn't just use your ears and think you're going to catch all the jokes. Like, it's a visual, it's visual humor. I mean, there's lots of funny things said as well, but it's the subtleties in the visual humor that is what really kicked this one up a notch. So I couldn't look down long enough to write a note on my notepad because I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because going back to the Mighty Boosh actually started as like a radio show type thing called The Boosh or something. Okay. And then so it's funny that the sight gags are so part of the experience that at least Julian Barratt's roots.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe their history and where this art form for them was born was an audio medium. Maybe once they got that visual aspect, they were hyper focused on it because it was new to them and it opened up a whole new world. And I think it fine tuned their craft. So whatever the case is, I mean, that's all just speculation on my part, but whatever the case is, it was extremely enjoyable to watch, so much so that I literally couldn't take my eyes away from the TV, even for a moment, to write a note for fear of missing something.
Nice.
Just little landmines, little silent landmines all over the place that if you weren't paying attention thoroughly, you could have missed them.
Yeah. Which I feel like a movie should do. It's a visual medium, like it's the thing that separates, like when we whenever it was when we moved from doing like radio shows and everything into like televised programming. You have this whole new canvas, you know what I mean, that you could do whatever you want with. So I think and I kind of feel like we may have taken that for granted, or like not us, or people in general taking that for granted, that like the whole visual story, you can have a visual story and the audio story, kind of almost not two totally different stories, but you can have multiple layers of things. Oh, sure. To look at, and experience.
It's like the old spoof movies, like the old Zucker Brothers stuff. There's so much going on screen. Like, you got 2 characters in the foreground doing their dialogue, and some of it's silly, and they're silly lines, but they're playing it straight. But then there's things going on in the background that if you don't pay attention, you're going to miss.
Yeah, but I think the main difference, and I would chalk that up as like 80s American comedy, which would be like the Naked Gun and all that stuff. But the main difference is their humor and where their strength lies was the absurd, the over the top.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's so wonderful about Mindhorn and just British humor in general is, and you could trace this back to Monty Python and even prior to them, I'm sure, but what's so wonderful about that humor, it's so intelligent. And I know we've talked about this before. It's not just like, oh, have a naked woman run into the frame and shake her boobs for a minute and then, punch a nun in the face because she won't stop crying or whatever. It's not
Which is all great.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for what it is. But with this stuff, what's so great is the subtle scenes.
It's much more nuanced.
Yeah, the flicker of a character's eyes in reaction to what somebody said, or the whole scene where he goes to open the door for the woman and she walks around the car and then the guy gets in the car and he just awkwardly then says, "Are you good?" and then closes the door embarrassed but trying to act as if this was all intentional. That humor is so powerful and so great, but so subtle.
That reminds me of a good example of same thing is when he gets to the hotel and the cop is with him. He's like, "All right, here's your room. I'll come back to get you in like 20 minutes. Do me a favor, don't leave the room." And he's like, "All right," and he goes in, and then the cop's standing outside the door, and he immediately comes back out and looks, and then turns around and he's like, "Oh, are you just gonna stand there the whole time?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, well, I'm just gonna go in and meditate."
But then
it's so awkward.
But then later when he comes back,
from
meditating, quote unquote,
he's knocking on the door, and he's like, "I don't know, he's not answering. I've been knocking."
He's all sweaty.
He's all sweaty. He's like, I really went in deep.
Man, that shit is so good. Oh my God.
It's perfection.
Yeah,
it's perfection.
Yeah, it is.
The delivery and the way all the dialogue is written is so intelligent in this film. It actually the way it's written is very reminiscent of another film we did, Bedazzled.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's just that quick. You have to pay attention or watch it multiple times.
Yeah.
But
that was a good pick too, by the way. Whoever picked that.
Yeah, that was whoever did that one.
I don't remember.
I don't know either.
Maybe our listeners should go back and listen to that one and tell us who it was that picked it.
Yeah. I guess that one review mentioned The Office, which I know The Office was spawned from originally being a British show, but then the American version I think is what really became iconic. For a large population. Well, for America, I'd actually be curious though if
I think it surpassed the British one.
I truly believe it did, and not just because it's an American thing and us Americans are just gung ho about what we create, but I truly believe that just the characters in The Office, the American version Office, I think transcended even what the original Office was and became, the Dwight Schrutes and the Jims and the Pams and Michael Scott, obviously.
Stanley.
Maybe I'm wrong. I would be curious to know what the British have to say about the American version.
Yeah.
I always felt one of the major strengths, and I know I'm not alone here, but one of the major strengths of The Office was the character development and their personal interactions, but then also the subtlety and the fact that you could watch an episode that's maybe, episode 6 of season 3, and they reference something in an extremely subtle way that if you didn't watch 12 episodes prior, the joke would make no sense. I love that there was this...
The callbacks.
It was very much layered, and it was very much like you had to be along for the ride. And, I mean, you could have watched it and not known that and still gotten many laughs, but you're going to get those bonus laughs because this world is so built up over time. Yeah. And I always loved that. And I didn't even think about the Office connection until that one review mentioned it, but I could totally see those very subtle, hidden in plain sight, nuanced jokes, and you have to pay attention. And I just love that.
I do want to I want to talk about the actors in the film a little bit. Is it Julian Barratt is his name, right? Barratt?
Correct.
That's correct, right?
Barratt.
I've never heard of him. I looked him up, and to my knowledge, I've never seen him in anything. But man, as soon as he was on screen, he had my attention.
Oh yeah,
His voice alone,
he has a great voice. Yeah,
and again, maybe that comes from the radio.
yeah, he's also a musician too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think he initially started his career as a teenager. He wanted to be a jazz guitarist or something.
Oh,
like that.
okay. But man, he's got a great voice.
Yeah, he does.
And like that's not something I would normally say about an actor because I don't, it's not something that usually stands out. But for him, it does. It's great. I love it. And what's the other guy that plays Clive?
Simon Farnaby.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anytime he was on screen,
Yeah.
he was going back to a previous episode, Burn After Reading, how I felt about Brad Pitt in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime Clive was on screen, anytime he spoke, anything he said, every single line was hilarious.
Yes. I agree. He kind of reminded me of Bill Murray in certain regards. Like I felt like if this was made in an American film in like the 80s, like Bill Murray almost could have played that part. Just like
I could see that.
I agree. Every time he opened his mouth and watching it a second time, we started laughing before he even delivered his lines. No, I think it's a ditty. Like
So real quick, to go back to Julian Barratt for a second. So looking on IMDb, it just mentions kind of, he was born May 4th, 1968. Birth name Julian Pettifer, Pettifer. He's 6'2". He was born in Leeds, England. But what's really interesting, trademark, it says, has very small eyes. Did anybody pick
Sarah
up on
pointed
that?
out. Sarah did. I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't pick up
she
on that.
mentioned, not from IMDb, but she noticed while watching the film.
Yeah, we were. Not while we were watching the film. Either when we're watching that or we're watching interviews later. She's like, I can't remember when she mentioned it. She was like, he's got small eyes.
I did not pick up
But
on
you
that.
probably
Me
don't
neither.
notice it in this because you only see one of them. You're only seeing 50% of the eye real estate.
But not the whole movie, though. He doesn't wear the eye patch the whole movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I just want to point out, I love that he has a cybernetic eye that can that can see the truth.
Yeah. Apparently, that was originally supposed to be the original. He was going to have a cybernetic nose so he could smell the truth.
Oh, okay.
But in several interviews I saw, he was like, they thought it would have been a little too ridiculous. And plus, he said he looks better with an eye patch than a prosthetic nose.
Yeah, that would have been a little too on the nose.
No, yeah.
God.
You're welcome.
Plus, with his sense of humor, in the interviews, I was going to try and take some information from interviews, but because of their sense of humor, it's impossible to tell what is actual fact.
Oh, yeah.
And because he said part of the reason that they filmed in the Isle of Man was for tax incentives.
Oh, nice.
But then they laughed about it, so I don't know if that's true or not. That could be.
What was the woman in this movie? Was what's her name? Ellie. What's her last name? Ellie
Davis?
Redding.
Essie Davis?
Essie. I said Ellie.
Essie Davis.
She was great too.
Oh yeah, she was amazing.
And a total babe.
For real, man. Like, she was gorgeous. I was
Yeah.
surprised. Even I felt like they tried to make him look younger
Yeah, they did.
in the earlier scenes and older, but she looked even better in the older
I agree.
scenes, like in the more current scenes.
It's all in the eyes. She's got gorgeous eyes.
Yeah.
So, real quick, again, I'm kind of stuck on Julian Barratt for a moment. Interesting personal quote of his. It says, I'm not a natural comic, I don't think. That's why I gave up stand-up. It was hard. It involved a lot of death, dying on stage. But it's one of those jobs you can only learn by doing it. You can't sit in your room and learn how to make people laugh. It's about a two-way relationship with the crowd and having to control them. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think he's right.
Yeah.
I think his brand of humor doesn't lend itself well to. I feel like when you're a stand-up comic, you're the center of attention. Where I feel like he's part of a bigger puzzle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like playing a role and doing it well.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this movie works so well. It's like a lot of funny people doing funny things all brought together.
Yes.
All kind of like. When he was talking about that relationship with the audience, like, it's kind of the same thing here. But it's a relationship with more funny people, so it's just exponentially building.
It's funny you should say that.
Humor.
He goes on to say it's a bit like being in a band.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, there you go.
Stand-up's a lonely trade. On the surface, it's social, but you're really on your own. I didn't really like it. I like the dynamic of a double act.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
And Justin, I know you've been in bands, as have I, and speaking from experience, I can totally say that I can't imagine being a solo artist and being up there with an acoustic guitar all on your own, all eyes on you. You mess up, there's no one there to kind of to pick you up. I think that one of the things I loved most about being in a band, and just like being on this podcast with you guys, one of the beautiful things about having a team is when you're having an off night, the other guys are there to pick you up, and vice versa. And it's a beautiful thing, and it's team building, and it builds relationships, and how's the saying go? Iron sharpens iron, and it's a beautiful thing. And I love being a part of that.
Yeah.
I've been in those experiences where my bandmates were struggling, and I would be there. I would try to pick up the slack, and vice versa, for sure. There's been times where I've struggled, and it's comforting to know you're not alone up there. So I can't imagine being a stand-up on your own.
Oh, no, that's intense.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's funny. I was listening to a friend of the show, the RWK podcast with Brian Fisher.
Yes.
I was listening to their, I think it was his last episode. He was talking about, it was the last one because he was doing, he was talking to the band, John Wan from the band Space Angels, and he was talking, they're a power trio. And they were talking about the dynamic of a power trio. And when you're a guitar player in a power trio, there's a lot more focus on you than when you're playing in a band with two guitar players. And when he said that, it totally reminded me of when I started playing in bands. I was like always the second guitar player. And then I remember the band I was in, we had two guitar players, and one guy was like, yeah, I'm done. And then I had to then be the sole guitar player for the first time.
I remember that. Yeah.
And not only be the sole guitar player, I had to then incorporate his riffs with my riffs and pick up his solos and stuff. And it was horrifying.
Yeah.
It was absolutely horrifying.
yeah, I can't imagine that, Justin, because I was a bass player. So
Yeah.
I always got to do bare minimum and just like kind of bust a groove on stage and live the rock star life, but not really have any of the real responsibility. You know, like I hit a bad note here and there. That's fine, but I can't imagine having to learn. Oh yeah, the other bass player quit, so I got to learn all his parts.
Yeah,
work in some new solos. Like that's just not happening with a bass player, you know.
But no, you're selling yourself short because you were in a power trio, so you know the like you were basically the rhythm section. You know what I mean? So if you screw up, it's like, oh, it's this guy with the funny hat doing the dance. You know what I mean? Like
this guy that's prancing around the stage.
Yeah. So I think you're selling yourself short. I think definitely like I started out like being able to hide behind someone else, where you jumped right in. You're like, I am the rhythm section. Here I am,
Nice.
And whatever drummer at the time. You know.
We've had quite a few.
Yeah. You have more drummers than Spinal Tap.
Dude, yeah. The only difference is none of ours died on stage, but...
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, I want to go back to Essie Davis. Is that how she says her name? Essie?
I think so.
So apparently she's from Australia. Is that the case?
Oh, really?
Tasmania.
Like Essie Davis. Man, I think we made some weird connection here.
She's from Tasmania, though, which is awesome.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Okay.
That is cool.
I didn't know that.
So she hit her accent well because she was sporting an English accent,
She
wasn't
sure was, yeah. I just want to point out, this movie takes place on the Isle of Man, which is an interesting location.
Where is that? I don't know anything about it.
I had to look it up. It is between Britain and Ireland. It's an island.
Okay.
But it's under British rule.
Okay.
So it's technically part of Britain, but it's an island. It's gorgeous. Like, there's that overhead shot of the island. You can see the whole island in one shot. I was like, that island is actually pretty small.
We should do our 100th episode from there.
Okay.
I would love that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous there.
It looks awesome.
Oh, man.
What's up?
So their flag really is those 3 legs?
Oh, is that their flag?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I'm just looking on Wikipedia here.
No shit.
And their flag has those 3 legs on
Like that
it.
picture.
Which I thought that was just...
Like the legs in a wheel, basically?
Yeah.
And the whole Manx thing? What's that all about? They were saying like Manx Day and...
I don't know what the Manx thing is, but I do know that they have, like, when I looked up, because I wanted to make, like, I picked my drink, I wanted it to be something related to the Isle of Man, and I saw they had, like, Manx alcohols, and I've been drinking gin, so I was like, I'll do gin. But I don't even know if you can get it in the United States, so I didn't even look that far into it.
Population as of 2016, the 2016 census, 83,314, which I guess is 202nd on a list, I'm guessing, of countries. I'm not sure what this list is.
I was watching an interview with Julian Barratt, and I think Simon Farnaby was in it too, and they, I think it was both of them, and the interviewer was like, so should we expect a Mindhorn sequel? And they're like, we may, maybe a prequel. We're going to do a prequel, but we don't know if we'll have the budget to do, like, set it in the 80s. And then Julian was like, he's like, it might be too expensive to modernize them.
Awesome.
But then he quickly then, like, said how much he loved being there and appreciated what I mean? So it's just his sense of humor. But he seemed very appreciative about being there.
Absolutely gorgeous island.
It looks great. I want to go. Mm-hmm. Dude, the last year I've been stuck in my apartment or work, so I want to go. Like, New Jersey's sounding like the most amazing place to go to right now.
I'll go there.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The island itself is 221 square miles.
Okay.
For anyone outside America, that's 572 kilometers.
How? Just for comparison, how many square miles is Delaware?
Well, let's see.
I kind of feel like the Isle of Man is like the UK's Delaware.
Yeah.
2,489.
That's Delaware?
So, yeah.
So that just tells you how small.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Wow. It's tiny.
So, yeah, it's...
Delaware is 10 Isle of Mans.
So, let's swing back over to Essie again.
Yeah,
Essie Davis.
we can do that all night long.
I feel like I recognized her, but I still don't know if I do. So I want to go through her stuff real quick. She has 52 Jesus Christ.
Actressing credits.
She has 52 acting credits. She's in Game of Thrones.
Is she?
Oh, what? Who's she playing at?
Lady Crane.
Was that wasn't the woman that was like breastfeeding her like child?
No.
She portrays Cersei, in the play The Bloody Hand. So in one of the episodes, she plays she's actually in 3 overall episodes, but I guess she's part of an acting troupe.
That was what's her name? That was there. The one
Arya.
I vaguely remember that. And I read that she was in the 2 Matrix sequels. I couldn't tell you who she is.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
She's in the Babadook.
I saw that too. I've never seen that movie.
Have you guys seen
though.
the Babadook?
No, I have not.
Yeah, Babadook is cool. Don't snooze on that, man. Check it out.
I wonder who...
Charlotte's Web, 2006. Yeah, Maggie.
Yeah, in the
Matrix.
second and third Matrix films. I don't know who that character is.
Matrix Reloaded, Matrix Revolutions.
Yeah, I don't know.
Me neither.
Like, I've seen her in multiple things.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, the fact she's in The Matrix and she's in Game of Thrones and The Babadook.
And Mindhorn.
And Mindhorn.
But
yeah, that's cool.
She's great in Mindhorn.
Mm-hmm.
She's really good in it.
Oh, she was also in the Assassin's Creed movie. I'm guessing that's the one with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, I've never seen that. But fun fact, I'm sure you'll be surprised to know that I actually have a copy of that Blu-ray in my house.
Well, hey, man, we're all really we were talking about this before the show. We're all really close to being vaccinated, so maybe we'll all get together and watch it
maybe.
at your house.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed, because that's the movie I want to watch with you guys.
Well, you don't want to start real high, you know.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Simon Farnaby. Is that how he says it? Farnaby?
Clive?
Yeah, Clive. He was freaking hilarious.
Oh my god.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my god, he was in Rogue One.
Was he?
Let's see, who did he play in Rogue One?
Wow.
Let's see. So he's been in Rogue One, Mindhorn, Paddington 2, which is the
Paddington Bear, yeah.
Christopher Robin, he played the taxi driver. I remember that. That's the one with what's his name?
Ewan McGregor?
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
I didn't see that. Was that good?
It's all right. So he played Blue 5, so it looks like he played a pilot in Rogue One.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Cool.
If I was ever in a Star Wars movie, I'd want to be one of those pilots.
Yeah, dude. I mean, to be honest, I would be anything in a Star Wars movie, but it would be badass to be one of those pilots.
Yeah.
I'm on my way to being Porkins Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it.
But anyway, yeah, he was really, really funny. So we do have to talk about Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And his cameo, which was really cool. It seemed like he was a good sport about all of that stuff.
Yeah, the whole casting call.
Yeah.
And then he's like he's like, hey, yeah, remember we were at that hotel and blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, yeah. And then he like leaves and he's like, who's that guy? I have no fucking idea.
Yeah. And then I like how he wants to do Richard Thorncroft wants to do another take, and Kenneth Branagh's no, I think we got everything I need.
Yeah. I think he even tells me, he's like, that was brilliant. Like,
yeah. But I like that he goes in there with this like overly offensive Jamaican accent, and like out in the waiting room is like these 6 Jamaican men.
Yeah. And they look at him while he was leaving, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Really funny.
Oh my god!
Unless you guys have anything to add, I'd like to get to my Pat's points.
I want to talk. We should talk about Steve Coogan briefly too.
Yeah. Oh yes, let's do that.
Yeah, he's great in this too. Steve Coogan plays a character in the Mindhorn show called Windjammer, and then he gets his own spin-off show that becomes very successful. And when Mindhorn, goes away, the spin-off show gets real successful, and he continues to have success. Steve Coogan
for like 16 seasons or something.
Yeah, what's it? Is Peter Eastman? I think his name is.
Yeah, Peter Eastman. Yeah.
So I want to talk about Steve Coogan in a minute, but first, when Mindhorn went to Peter Eastman about the rights to the DVDs, right?
Did he wanted him to like co-sign on it, like go in with him on it.
Okay, that's what I was asking, because did Steve Coogan's character did he own the rights to the DVD sales? I was a little confused about that.
Well, that's a good question now. I don't know.
I wasn't sure if he was asking his permission to release the DVDs, and he needed his...
I think he was trying to partner up with him to release it, like, you know what I mean? Like...
Maybe because he was still viable, he was still in the...
Yeah, and he wanted his influence and money, because he clearly still has money. But I find that great. He's like, he comes to him with the idea of doing it. He's like, I think that's a great idea. I think we should sign it right now.
Yeah.
But he's just setting him up because he's still bitter about the things that what's his name? Thorncraft?
Richard Thorncroft.
Said about him years before.
Because that was part of the point of the story, is he totally was the hot shit.
Yeah.
And burnt all the bridges. Bridges.
He
burnt all the bridges.
That's such a British way of saying that.
He burnt all the bridges. You burnt all your bridges, mate.
Yeah, being a like flash in a pan, burn his bridges.
Yeah,
and pissed everyone off.
Yes,
and then Peter Eastman was having a go at him, as they say.
Steve Coogan, I definitely recognized him.
Yeah,
so he's got 120 actor credits. Oh, he was in the Despicable Me stuff. He did a voice or a couple voices. Oh, that's where I know him from. Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb.
I've never seen those movies.
Octavius with, what's his name? Ben Stiller.
Also, this movie's made by Steve Coogan's production company.
Yes, and do you know who else produced this one?
Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Yes, Ridley Scott. We saw that at the end. We're like, holy shit, that was crazy. And not a single alien anywhere in this movie.
No, nowhere.
I'm sorry, xenomorph. While we're talking about the cast, I want to give a real quick mention to Russel Tovey.
Oh, he plays what's his character's name?
The Kessel.
Kessel.
He was great, but he was also in a movie called Grabbers. Have you guys seen that?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Watch that one. Grabbers is pretty good too.
Okay.
That was Grabbers was another one that snuck up on me.
Put it on your list?
Huh? Nah.
What?
So, Justin, what was the show you referenced earlier that this film was inspired by?
Bergerac?
Yes. So David Schofield, who played Chief Inspector Derek Newsom, the police chief or whatever you want to call him, he apparently cameoed in that old show in a couple episodes back in the day, and that's, I guess, one of the main reasons that they brought him in to do this.
I thought he was great in this too, how he hated Mindhorn. He hated him. He's like, prick. He's just like...
Because Mindhorn totally trashed the entire Isle of Man on some talk show. I can't remember the name.
Right.
And even when he shows up And Clive sees him in his garden. He's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I'm here for a funeral for it was like John Nettles or something."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I know him really well."
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh no, some other John Nettles." But John Nettles was the name of the actor played Bergerac.
Yeah.
That's
wild. Okay.
So, unless you guys have anything to add, I would like to get to Pat's points. Justin?
Pat's points.
All right, thank you.
Tried to make it a little more sensual than normal.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
So, Isle of Man, I have on my notes, so we've already discussed that. Kenneth Branagh, we've already talked about him. This, I think, is great. This is, I think, based on what we already discussed about the humor in this film, I think they get where their strength is, and they put this joke in here where Mindhorn says at one point, he's talking about his acting chops, and he says the face, which is his face, is a map of human emotion.
Yes. He says that to his like agent or whatever she is.
Yeah. Just trying to sell himself. Mm-hmm. Which clearly his character is not a map of human emotion, but
not at all.
I think this film is great at utilizing that map of human emotion and using it in a way that you wouldn't expect, which is really funny. Oh, that's what I referenced earlier. Again, talking about that subtle humor, just the flick of an eye. I like when Mindhorn then, when he takes the job on and he's ready to do it, he just says, "Let's save some lives."
Yeah.
The female police officer just kind of flicks her eyes, and it's just really funny. I love they bring Mindhorn in again. For anyone who hasn't seen it, they bring this actor. I guess we should have explained this a little more in depth. So they bring the actor of Mindhorn from this old show in to answer these phone calls from this psycho who murdered someone.
Who says he'll only speak to Mindhorn.
He'll only speak to Mindhorn because he's a little slow and he thinks Mindhorn is real.
Yeah.
So I love when Mindhorn finally shows up at the police station there, and he's getting all set. He walks in like it's like a film set. He asks another cop for coffee as he's walking down the hall. And,
he's like, "Where's the dressing room?"
But I love when they finally get him in front of the phone, and he connects with the prop by picking it up in multiple ways. And then he puts his shoes on right before the scene starts. Like, that's always the final thing he does.
That's his thing, yeah.
Why do I have... maybe you guys can remind me where this is in the movie. Quote, "It's time to get some pussy." Is that...
Yes.
The flowers that he brought to...
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
To Pat was her name. He brings... And it says there for someone he's going to a funeral, and he leaves them there. And then Clive gives them to Pat. And so what does it say again?
It says it's time to get some pussy.
Yeah.
So... Mindhorn brought that to Pat.
Yeah, but then he tried to play it off like he didn't, because he didn't know that she was
with Clive,
the gardener, were together. The old
God.
stuntman.
And then Clive rolls with the punches like, "Whoa, it's been a while."
Time to get some pussy. Anyway, the last note I had was Ridley Scott, which we already talked about.
Well, damn.
But so really... The last note I had was, "It's time to get some pussy," and that's when I really noticed that I'm not going to be able to keep looking down at my notepad. I'm just going to have to stay focused on the movie because I'm going to miss too much.
I did. Well, you're done with your points then? That's
it.
The only other things I had on my notes here is I love the beginning of the movie with the vintage like commercial for Mindhorn for the show.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was great. And then it had like the little like actor spotlight segment.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I don't know. I thought that was really well made. It looked authentic. It was really well done.
Yeah, and they definitely did well with the old VHS tape and the effects of a VHS tape over time. How it starts to, younger kids, if there are any listening, won't know that. But I remember back in our day, before DVD became what it was, when you would wear a tape down, dude, it was scary. Because it would literally get sucked up into the VCR if you weren't careful.
Oh, yeah. It's happened to me before, for sure.
Mainly with the pornos, I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only rewind over the same favorite part so many times before it's going to chew it up.
Yep. So anything else, Mike?
Just the Jenga thing.
Oh,
dear.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away if anybody hasn't seen the movie, but there's an exchange between Clive and, what is his real name? Richard
Thorncroft?
Thorncroft? Yeah, a little exchange between them about Jenga. That was pretty funny. Oh, we didn't talk about Simon Callow.
No, we didn't.
Who's in a lot of stuff.
Who plays himself.
Yes.
Oh, so he was the one sitting there eating a salad.
Yeah, he's the guy in the casting agent's...
okay.
Or the, the acting agent, her office.
So he has 137 acting credits.
So you may know him from Four Weddings and a Funeral, A Room with a View, Shakespeare in Love, or many other movies I've never seen.
But he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I guarantee you've seen him somewhere before. I know I have. I don't know where, but I know I've seen him and stuff.
All right. Well, let's do this then, because I feel like this is a weird film for the podcast, because I feel like what we could find ourselves doing is just playing each of the funny scenes, which
I pointed out a few.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I want the viewers to watch this film without it being tainted and see it for what it is.
In your underpants.
So I guess what I want to ask you guys is, being as the main, one of the main selling points of this podcast is that we use the film as a MacGuffin to take us down roads we may not normally go. I would love to know if there's anything about this film that sparks any kind of conversation that you want to dig into, or anything that you wanted to tie this into or question us about, your fellow MacGuffins, or anything that you want to get into here.
I have a few things. I want to open with the most important thing I had. Still kind of like a personal thing. When all the graffiti was on the car, and when Mindhorn was talking to Pat through the window, there was a penis drawn on the window. And it reminded me of a time when, back in the day when we used to all hang out, this was years and years ago, when you had the band room in your parents' house, Pat.
Yeah.
And we'd all hang out there and then, get drunk or play games or whatever the hell goofy shit we were doing.
Watch old horror movies.
And I remember, watching horror movies a lot of the time. And I remember one time we left, and there was a short period of time where people were like kind of, casually vandalizing cars. And someone, a friend of ours, who I kind of want to give a shout out to because I don't think we have enough, who has been very active, is Rob
Bristow Live Fire.
Bristow Live Fire. So check it out. Very good pizza. Someone drew a dick across his window on the driver's side.
I remember
Like, it was
that.
a big old floppy one. Like, it kind of started down at the bottom with a set of solid balls and then kind of came up and around and came down. It's, like, very well drawn. But there was this graffiti all over his car. And I remember, and Rob's a pretty, like, fun-loving
He's pretty
fun dude, but I remember
back.
he's very laid back and he's fun to hang out with. But I do remember when Sarah and I think were leaving, we drove by, and I remember looking over at his angry face through a passenger side window that had a big floppy dong drawn on it. And I was reminded of that instant. Like, I forgot the joy I had of seeing his face.
Did he clean it off then, or did he drive home with
I think
that
he
dick
drove
on?
home and it, like, I don't know. We'll
I
have to
wonder
ask him
what
because
it was, what substance was used to draw it.
it was like window chalk or something.
So it was like easily cleanable.
Yeah, it was like, it wasn't like
What-
someone scraped it in with like a
what
penknife or something.
substance? Why the word substance?
Well, I just didn't know like what. Well, I don't know what other word.
Someone jizz penned it on there.
Well, I'm just saying, like, was it paint? Was it, pen? I don't think pen would work, but
Spray paint.
yeah, that's what I'm
Was it
saying.
acrylic? Was it watercolor? We don't know.
We don't oil based. We're not sure.
Yeah. I just remember the look on his face. I'll never forget it.
I remember.
Vaguely.
I don't know if I saw it because the problem was I lived at my parents' house, so
Oh, that's right. You weren't going
didn't
anywhere.
leave.
Yeah.
So, but I remember hearing.
I
about
remember
it.
seeing it, but like briefly.
Man, that's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, funny
You
now.
know who else? I want to give a random shout out. You know who else I want to give a shout out to? And we should have done this during your drink revealing bit earlier in the show.
I know what you're going to say. I wanted to do the same thing, yeah.
Will Owens.
Yeah.
A really good friend, Will, and I hope he's still listening to this episode. But I know he's listened to other episodes. He may have checked out on this one at this point.
He definitely checked out,
along with everyone else.
Will, I just want to send Will some love for sure.
Yeah, man.
We appreciate his support, and he's a really good guy, as is Rob.
And I'll say this too. I'll say it. I remember a time when I was going through a really rough time, and Will took me in and really took care of me, man. So
that's cool.
I definitely owe him a Wookiee life debt. So
nice.
Appreciate you having you here, Will. And
cool.
Yeah, other listeners that don't know Will, they're like, yeah, I'm checking out right now. But anyway,
hey, I give my own shout out to Will because he helped me out in a pinch with my wedding and gave us a place to have a little reception.
He's clutch, man. He's a good dude.
Yeah, during the pandemic, the world-affecting pandemic.
Yeah, it was
a hell of a cook too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We do have some really good cook friends, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. That's why we're all fat.
Porkins Jr.
I don't know if that's why, but no. But anyway, Justin, did you have more on your notebook there?
I got tons of stuff, but are we done with the dick window thing?
Well, I mean, unless you got more of the story.
Really done with that?
No, it'll come up later. It'll rear its ugly head later. Have you guys had jobs that you thought you'd be good at, but ended up being kind of comical at?
Podcasting.
Yeah. Easy
I never
answer.
thought I'd be good at it, and I've exceeded my expectations of being really shit at it.
Justin, did you have a job? Or do you have another question?
Basically, every job I've ever done in my life, I thought I'd be good at, and I've been shit at it. So we could sit here all night.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's bullshit.
The IT guy for the MacGuffin Guild was like the biggest.
I don't have anything like that.
I have one for you.
Do you?
Now, maybe you could tell us a little bit about it. I remember when we were younger and you worked at McDonald's, didn't you accept a manager job there for a hot minute?
I did.
Did you do it because you thought you'd be good at it, or did you do it because that was a natural progression of things?
I did it because I wanted more goddamn money. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, that was just a whole, weird thing with them dicking me around. Telling me one thing and then, that's not...
They Mick-dicked you around.
Yeah. Basically, they didn't come through with their promises.
So they misled you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I was never sure about the scenario there because from an outsider, I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you taking a position, but it didn't last long, right?
I backed out really quickly because what they told me I'd be doing and my responsibilities and stuff was completely not what they had me doing once I started it. So I was like, no, I'm out.
Well, I'm proud of you for giving it a shot and then quitting.
I stayed there way longer than I should have.
No, yeah.
Well, you're here now on the MacGuffin Guild.
That's
so
right.
Everything worked out precisely how it was supposed to.
That's right.
Making the big bucks.
Yeah.
Justin?
2 more. Places that have not changed at all. Like, they were talking about the Isle of Man. Mm-hmm. Oh. The place itself.
Let's talk about this for a minute. Everything from our youth till now has changed.
Yeah, there's always changes.
Yeah, but so let's talk about this. I saw a meme the other day, and I know I'm not the only one, but the meme said, well, first off, it was a sad-looking picture of Will Smith, and it read, me realizing that kids talking about the 90s today is the same as kids in the 90s talking about the 60s.
Jesus Christ.
When we were 10 and 15, and we heard our parents talking about the 60s, it felt like a million light years away.
Yeah. And that's how these kids now feel about the 90s.
Yeah, when we're talking about the 80s and 90s, that's not even, they can't even compute that. That feels so old to them.
They're like, that's last century.
Yeah, that's just it. When I tell I've already told her, but, again, when I keep reminding her that I was born in the 1900s, that's going to trip her out.
Yeah.
That's crazy talk. Mm-hmm. But, think about that.
Considering that people that were born in 2000 now can drink alcohol.
Yeah, I know. It's wild. It's wild. But
for the most part,
I think that's something that needs to be talked about, how quickly, just our our world that we live in, the society that we live in that is always evolving, and how quickly it evolves and how quickly it goes from, I mean, think about it. When we were growing up, we heard our parents talk about records and 8-tracks.
Yeah.
We have those now. We have VHS and CDs. When we talk about VHS and CDs to our kids, it's like alien language.
And Walkman. Walkman.
Yeah.
Walkman, Discman.
Yeah.
Even when we talk about floppy disks.
Yeah, floppy disk. On the other side of that, I remember when I was 14 years old being super excited about the brand new fresh video game that was out, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And now one of the most anticipated movies of 2021
is
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like...
That's true.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. People will still want to see people getting their spines ripped out.
Yeah.
Violence will never go out of style.
Yeah, it's always in vogue.
That brings us to another... I think the reason for that, Justin, is because the people that played that game when it came out are the ones making the movies now, just like with the MCU.
Yeah. It's kind of like in the 80s, all the filmmakers were doing like 50s set films.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now...
Which I love. I love that stuff.
And now they're all doing... Now the current ones are doing like 80s films.
Yeah, I mean, you can point to George Lucas. He says all the time how Indiana Jones and Star Wars, both of them were based on those old serial, just like the adventure shorts and all that stuff from back in the day, and that's what he was raised on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do find that a lot. How many times in this podcast, in our first 30 episodes, I'm sure we could probably look for them and isolate them of me saying, well, if you watch this film in context of when it came out, I mean, it's so true that that's how quickly things move in this world, that you have to watch a piece of art through the context of the time or you're going to miss things.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That brings us back to Mindhorn, who is a man well beyond his day, and he's just not willing to give up on that concept that he's still... This is his heyday. He's still in his heyday. But in our minds, I think we feel like we're still in our heyday, right? I guess that's the point.
That's a great that's a great way to tie it all together, because it was marginally better than Eggs' Electricity as well. So
I still don't think you guys understand what the point is of Eggs' Electricity.
No, I get it.
There is a real deep message there.
No, it is, and I agree, and I think the listener should chime in by listening to our From Dusk Till Dawn 2-parter, where you really laid some serious philosophical conundrums on us.
I'm astounded by how we've been able to harness electricity, and it's a very basic concept, and we harness it in a way that's amazing. Just as I'm equally amazed what we can do with a simple egg.
Yeah. It makes sense. I get it. It sounds ridiculous, but I do get it. But I can't pass up an opportunity to tell you how fucking ridiculous that sounds.
Oh, shit.
Despite how much sense it makes when you really dig into it.
All right, Justin, you said you had one more point. So what is that? And then I would like to get to ratings and wrap up.
So last point is, a lot of these points came from Sarah, by the way, too. So last point is, do you have a moment in your life where you had left your life as you know it, or left a situation and returned and things were different, much like in the movie, where he kind of leaves and then comes back and things are different and he thinks they're going to be the same?
I think the best way for me to answer that is that I don't, but I think that I have slight regrets that I don't. Let me expound on that. Is that
so
the
thanks
word,
for
Mike?
sharing. Mike,
Expound?
how about you? I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Pat.
Elaborate.
So this is what I think. I think that I never got far enough away from the life that I know for it to give it the opportunity to change.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have regrets. I wish that I would have gone to school away from home and had those couple years to kind of, broaden my horizons and meet new people and explore the world. Mm-hmm. But I never had that. I always stayed local. I always liked where I lived. I was born in Philly, and for a period I lived down in Baltimore, Maryland, which, if you know the East Coast of America, it's pretty much an hour strip of I-95 along the coast. Mm-hmm. And my life is kind of lived in that space.
We're a mid-Atlantic
So-
guy. We're all mid-Atlantic guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so to answer your question, I feel a little sad that I never went far enough away from the life I know to have that happen. But, so no, that's never happened to me, to answer your question.
Okay.
Mike?
I just briefly, when I went to college for a semester, I went out to Frostburg University, which is in western Maryland, like way, 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 all the way on the western tip of Maryland, which is the opposite end of the state that I lived in at the time, about like 4 hours away or something.
In the mountains.
Yes, in the mountains. It was this mountain town. Now, it wasn't so much when I moved back after that semester that things were weird. It was while I was living in Frostburg and came home to visit for holidays, things felt weird, and I felt out of place, like I wasn't part of...
Like you were out of the loop.
Yeah, I felt really awkward. But once I moved back, I was so relieved and happy to be back that I just jumped right back in, if that makes sense. That's just how I felt at the time. Other than that, no, I've never really lived anywhere far away. I mean, Jesus Christ, the furthest I lived away was with you, Justin, so...
Yeah, and we know how awful that was for me. So
yeah, it was a fucking terrible experience.
No, that was an amazing experience.
It was fun.
I love living with you. Yeah.
So Justin, do you have a story?
I do, and I think this is why she brought it up, is because in 2001 I moved to Seattle and I was gone for a year, and I came back, and even though I was gone for only a year, kinda. When I came back, I might as well have been on another planet, because I was so out of touch with what everyone's, and when you're in your early 20s, everyone's life moves so fast.
Yeah.
And I remember coming back and just being so disconnected from everyone, and I just I didn't know, and I had changed personally as a person. I was just really trying to fit back in, and I just couldn't find my groove, you know what I mean? I was happy to see you guys and I loved hanging out. But
are you starting to get a little touched?
No, I got gas. I keep burping in the middle while I'm talking. So
I thought you were holding back tears.
No, I'm not. I was really struggling not to try burping a microphone.
For podcast dramatic purposes, we're gonna roll with that.
Yeah, edit that in I'm crying.
Justin's
or something.
getting choked up.
Yeah, so I had a hard time readjusting when I came back after a year, because my whole reason for leaving is I was miserable with my life, and I remember leaving. I was like, I'm not coming back until I've found some I was looking for some kind of deeper meaning to life, or some deeper meaning to myself, and it's
you shouldn't have gone
I'd
to
much
Seattle.
rather die than come back not advancing at all or anything. And then I went out there and I had a hard time, and I just I felt like a failure, and I remember I had to call my brother and get a plane ticket. I was just done. It was 3 days in a row I couldn't sleep, and I was freaking out, and I had to call my brother. I was dude, I gotta get the fuck out of here. He bought me a plane ticket, and I went home, and I felt like a complete failure. And I remember coming back to you guys, and you guys were all doing fun stuff, and Pat and your band, you were moving forward and doing stuff, and Mike,
I wasn't doing shit.
Nah, you were being Mike and being cool.
He was a manager for 2 days at McDonald's.
Yeah, you were a manager for 2 days, and I was I've never been a manager of shit. And I don't know, it was a really tough time for me, and later on, as I realized, I had grown so much in that experience, and helped us to get where we're at, and because I don't know if you guys remember how much of a fucking anus I was before I moved.
What do you mean was? Can you define was?
By was, I mean kind of exactly where I am now, but there was that period in between where I thought I had changed. So I felt in my mind, at least, before I left, I totally felt like I took everyone for granted, and everyone was a hindrance to me. And when I came back, everyone was a gift to me. You know what I mean? So that was a huge thing. There's that saying, you can never go home or something. And I remember my dad saying that, and I'm whatever. And it was true. When I came home, I was home, but it wasn't the same place. Yeah. But I also wasn't the same person. I remember I took a philosophy class in college. One thing they said is you can never pass the same stream twice. And that's because the water's flowing. You're different when you pass both times and stuff. And it kind of
okay.
and that kind of made sense at that point because like everything had changed, and I had changed. The environment had changed. You guys had changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think it was for the better because like before I went to Seattle, if you're like, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to do this for like the equivalent then would have been like a radio show together. And I'm like, fuck no, I'm never doing a radio show with you. You know what I mean? Where like now this is like the thing I looked forward to doing every week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was definitely a growing experience. But I think all these strenuous experiences we've been talking about have kind of like, I always say like relationships are forged, like strong relationships are forged. They're not built. And I think all these strenuous things we've been through together have forged these bonds and these things that we talk about, and which I think have been the building blocks of everything we talk about every week for the last 31 weeks or whatever it's been.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is to bring it back around and make sense, if I am making sense.
So far.
These experiences that you go through where you think are like not ideal or like you've been a stranger in a strange land or even you return home and like home's not there. Any listener that's listening out there, like young, old, whatever you're doing, we're a bunch of dumbasses that are just like old friends hanging out. But if you take anything from this entire podcast, like take risk. Like do the thing you think you want to do. Like I remember for a long time when I moved out there, like I was like really struggling and I had a hard time and I thought it was a negative thing. But like as I get older, like I grew so much from that, and taking risk and stepping outside your comfort zone is very important. And I think you should do that. And especially if you're an introverted type person where it's like even harder for you to step outside your comfort zone, find a new comfort zone. You know what I mean? Like find find a comfort zone that you can kind of step out, like maybe other introverts you're comfortable with. I'm getting way off topic. This is probably going to get cut.
So where does this tie back to Mindhorn?
It doesn't, and that's why this is probably all going to get cut.
I'm just kidding.
So I think the reason Sarah asked this question to me was when I moved back from Seattle, that's when Sarah and I kind of hooked up and connected, which I would have never done before because she was my friend's sister, and I was in such a weird space that I did it and I took a gamble. And and a lot of people might not notice we're married, but we have been on and off for 20 years or so. You know?
Yeah.
But that experience of leaving and coming back set me up for us to explore this back and forth and really examining our things. And she did the same thing. She she went to college in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Moved back to Rhode Island, moved to New York, and we were like two passing ships, constantly kind of missing each other, and we kind of always found each other coming back to each other, which is why we got married. And but I do want to point out the last time we got together, she was like really aggressively pursuing me, and I was a little embarrassed for her because of how like it's painful for me to say this, but you're the coolest guy I know, and I don't foresee myself being in a life where you're not in it. And I was like, yeah, I know that is kind of embarrassing. I understand that. But I'm here for you. You know what I mean? And I think that really opened doors. And she's not here to defend herself. You know, she wants to say otherwise she can get on the show. But that's kind of my memory of how it went down. She might have a different perception of how that went.
So what do you give Mindhorn?
I give it a 4. On the nose. 4.0.
I'm just kidding. Were you done your thought, Justin? I'm not sure.
It doesn't matter. All this shit's getting cut out because I'm fucking drunk on gin, so.
All right, so Justin, is there a sentence you want to say to wrap that thing up, or what?
Is there anything to wrap that up?
I guess to wrap that up, I would say yes, there was. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Let's bring this down for a soft landing, and we will each rate this film. So, Justin, this was your pick. I will let you decide in what order we shall rate it.
I'm going to do Pat. Michael,
Ooh.
and then myself.
All right, so with this one, and I'm going to try to make it a little snappy because we're running short on time. But this was an exceptionally fun film, and you have to pay attention. There's curveballs and fastballs constantly flying over your head if you're not aware of what's going on. There's just so much humor, and it's really enjoyable. I will definitely be watching it again because I feel like I've missed things. Even with having paid attention, I still feel as if I missed things. And some of that subtle stuff is so funny that I want to see it again. So this has to be higher. So I'm definitely in that 7 range. So I don't know, 7.3. That's what my gut is telling me. I'm going to give this one a 7.3. I could probably go higher, and maybe I will when I see it again. But right now, upon first viewing, that's kind of where my gut's taking me. So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Pat, this movie is very, very enjoyable. I think it's very well written. I think it's executed well. The humor, the on-screen humor, which is, we didn't even talk about how hard that is to, like, that's the hardest thing to get on film is humor. Like, that's the hardest thing to get right.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie is going to be one of those hidden treasure movies that, like, I feel like we're now part of a small clique of people who are fans of this movie.
Yeah, hopefully our podcast, even if it brings 5 more people to the viewing of this film, I think that's a success, and I think that this film deserves that.
Absolutely,
it deserves people to see this.
That was actually part of my reason for picking this, is because I felt like we loved it so much. I was like, why is this not being discussed more? It was like, it was criminal that it was not being discussed
totally
more.
Agree. So with all that being said, I'm going to give it slightly higher than Pat, but not crazy higher, 7.7. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I thought it was very funny.
I was kind of this is one where I targeted you, Mike, on this when I picked it. Well, I targeted Sarah because she told me to pick it, but when I thought about it, I thought about you because I was curious. I thought Pat would like it because I know Pat's like a Monty Python fan and kind of likes the British humor and stuff. And I was really curious to get your take on it, and I think you would like. I thought you would like the humor in it, so it's good.
Absolutely, I was on board from the beginning. All right, so Justin, what do you got?
I'm gonna go 7.2.
Okay,
because that's a number that comes to my head.
Has Justin ever gone lower than you and I, Mike? I don't know that has ever happened on the show.
I don't know.
I'm going to have to look into that.
I'm not sure.
It reinforces the fact that our ratings are bullshit.
And it was his own pick.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So our average is 7.4, so it's right there.
Yeah.
You know?
I probably should have went higher, but
no.
I don't know. I really like it a lot, and it's going to be... like, I wanted to bring it to the table because it's criminally underrated, I think.
I totally agree.
People deserve to go watch this film. All right, so any final thoughts before we shut this down?
I got nothing.
Now let's wrap it up. Mike has to work tomorrow, which he keeps reminding us of.
Yeah. I haven't said shit in quite a while.
You haven't. I'm just joking.
No, he's sleeping.
Yeah, almost.
All right, well... Mindhorn is the film, and 7.4 is our average rating. I would say that we're probably all in agreement that it is a recommended film for listeners to view. And
definitely.
I enjoyed it, and like I said, I will definitely watch it again. I think there's so much packed into it, it's easy to miss 90% of it. Well, maybe not that much, but, a good percentage. So anyway, Mindhorn 2016, check it out. And let us know your thoughts.
On our social media.
Oh, yeah, our social media. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord. And that's pretty much about it. Oh, yeah, go on Apple Podcasts, apparently, and give us a couple stars and let us know your thoughts.
That's what people do.
Leave us a review. We would really appreciate that. Unless you don't like us, in which case you could shove it up your ass.
Yeah, shove that shit right up your ass.
Shove it up your ass and press play, as
yeah, don't be mean.
As Mindhorn would say.
Oh yeah. No, but like, if you don't like our show, please tell us directly that you don't like it, and let's start a conversation about that.
And
because that's
tell us
fun
what
too.
we can do better.
And then we can meet you in the parking lot.
Because you're probably a piece of shit too,
we can meet you
like us.
We'll meet you in the school parking lot after class, and we can get down. You know.
Yeah, we'll punch each other for a while until we become best friends.
Yeah, or at least if Mike is fighting you, I'll at least watch from afar.
And vice versa.
That's what we do.
If Pat's fighting you, I'll stand back and observe from a safe distance.
So anyway, all right. Well, we are the MacGuffin Guild, and we appreciate you being here. And yeah, we're just happy to be back on it after a week off. In episode 31. Pretty cool. Moving right along. So, Mike, Justin, final thoughts? You good?
Good, man.
I'm just glad that I stuck with my original intention and didn't drink for this one. So
proud of you, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's the support, the support from your friends that makes it possible.
All right. Well, on that note, let's shut it down. We will see you all next week back here on the MacGuffin Guild. Mike, Justin, love you guys.
Later, twats. Love you.
Peace.
See ya.
That's a British thing.
I get it, because Mindhorn's a British movie.
I raised you better than this.
Okay, so I really want to dig into your mind,
Horn.
your history. God damn it.